Dr. Lara May, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Absolutely. So look, we're gonna kick this off. I'm excited to learn this. I probably don't know half the stuff you're gonna talk about today, so this is pretty cool. It's I guess we'll just start because I think the burning question here is what is functional medicine? And we'll start with there. Well, what is functional medicine?
Okay, functional medicine is actually a personalized and precision type of medicine. So, what does that mean? It means that we don't guess, we test. So, in my practice, I test for inflammation, I test for deficiencies, I test for toxicities, and food sensitivities is one of the main things as well. And so that gives me specific data about you, the client, and that gives us a place to start. So, you come to me with your complaint or your diagnosis or whatever you're wanting to work on to heal. And we just jump right in. Okay, and we assess where is your body in the inflammation spectrum. So functional medicine looks to get to the root cause. We don't just treat one body system at a time with a band-aid, cover it up type of approach. We get to the root cause so that it not only resolves your chief complaint, but usually there's a whole myriad of other things that get resolved along the way, and that is whole body healing. So, in a nutshell, that's what functional medicine is.
Okay, awesome. And so how is that different? Because I think some people would say, okay, well, that's medicine. How is that different than Western medicine?
So, Western medicine, when you go to your physician, you say, I don't know, like, let's just have an example. Oh, I'm tired all the time. I have a little brain fog. It's hard for me to lose weight, or I'm gaining weight and I can't stop gaining weight, or I can't keep it off, and I'm doing all the right things. So they will probably test your thyroid. They'll probably test for your cholesterol. And depending on what pops back, they could tell you nothing's wrong, everything's fine. This is just normal aging. And so a functional medicine approach will keep digging. We look again at the whole body. So we have different tests than Western medicine. So the tests I run can actually give us a picture of inflammation of your cells and how inflamed are they. Whereas the like for example, the thyroid test that a physician will normally run is just a TSH. They'll just start there. And if your TSH is less than 4, then they'll call that normal, even if you're having symptoms. So that's where a lot of, especially women, get really frustrated. And, after the age of sometimes it starts, after 25, other times it's instigated by after having a baby. Our body changes as we age, especially women, because of our hormones. We're cyclical beings. Men also have hormones, of course. Men have estrogen in their body. It's natural for them to have and to need a hormone balance, but women have, of course, this cyclical fluctuation. And then you throw a baby in the mix, or even if you haven't had a baby, you throw a big stressor in the mix and it can just wreak havoc. And so this creates inflammation in the body, which then creates other issues, which eventually turn into disease. And so, um, or maybe we can have a gut health example. Oh, I'm having heartburn all the time. Okay, well, take this pill. They don't ask what you're eating. They don't ask how you're sleeping. They don't ask how your lifestyle is. They just say, oh, well, you can buy something over the counter for that. They give you the name of it. You go to the pharmacy, you either pick it up or you buy it, and you start taking it, and it could help your heartburn, but they don't encourage you to change anything. So, functional medicine, we are going to look at your lifestyle, what you do every day. How are you sleeping? How are you eating? Are you meditating? Are you moving your body every day? And we're going to incorporate lifestyle changes into the food. We use food as medicine. And then in my practice too, I also use supplements. And the supplements are just that. They are to be a supplement to your life for a short time. Supplements should not be a lifelong thing unless it's something like vitamin D, which we can talk about that. But the nature of most of our inside lives really causes most of us to be deficient in vitamin D. So that would be the one supplement I might say that would be lifelong, but we don't have to go there.
No, fair enough. So if I'm hearing you correctly, Western medicine, and again, not in a disparaging way or anything like that, because obviously doctors are great, whatever it is,
Oh,
but
yes.
we are in the US, you're more prone to just say, look, these tests came back relatively normal within this specific guideline that we have. I mean, you mentioned like a thyroid number or whatever it was, and it comes back within this range. And it's like, oh, sorry, or here, you're feeling like this, go take, if you have anxiety, depression, go take this pill and let's hope it works. Versus functional medicine, which may do similar testing because, okay, but like what might be causing this to be, even if it's in normal range, we might say, well, actually, we can look at this and say, well, there's actually still things going on. So you look, not that you look deeper per se, but you almost look in a different way of, okay, well, so it's like, you say, okay, you might be ranging on the normal scale here, but our tests are showing that you actually do have this, and this, and let's look at how you can change your lifestyle to affect these things, which then might help you, versus nothing we can do, your tests are normal, or here's a pill, this should potentially make you feel better.
Yes, and the other difference is, and that you can use this example both, like I brought up the thyroid example and cholesterol testing. There are, there's a pathway in the body as to why they these things work a certain way. And instead of looking at one piece of the pathway, in functional medicine, we look at the whole pathway. And I do this with my clients with hormone testing too, and which includes cortisol. So like a 24-hour cortisol collect to assess any adrenal issues. And then also hormone issues too, both with men and women. Where are you in the whole cascade? What is your DHEA? What is your progesterone? What is your estrogen? What is your testosterone? How are they being broken down in your body and metabolized? With both men and women can get breast cancer. And if your body is holding on to this one metabolite of estrogen, that can become toxic in the body and increase your risk of breast cancer. And so we want to make sure that your body is metabolizing appropriately, getting rid of toxins appropriately. And so a big part, like I said earlier, we test for toxicities. We look at those pathways to make sure your body's functioning appropriately. And if not, how can we support it and help it get rid of these things better and easier and more efficiently so that you feel better?
do do that makes and that makes perfect sense, right? Like identify what's going on and then you make those changes. Do doctors like if you go to, like, I've been to, a primary care physician for years, right? Like family doctor,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And we I'll do my annual wellness test that I get for free, or annual physical. And do they have access to these kind of tests? Do they just not do them? And why is this not being done more so at kind of, the primary care facility?
So in Western medicine, we operate from a lot of tradition and legacy science and legacy processes. And they have served us for many, many years. Just like you said, we've all been to our PCP many, many years. They do the same thing and and a lot of times for people my age and your age, unless we have a specific complaint, there's not really a lot for them, quote, to do. They're depending on us to come to them with a problem, and then they address that specific problem by looking at it in that one specific organ system in the body. They don't really assess the body as a whole. So, we can take, you brought up anxiety and depression. Most of our neurotransmitters are made in our guts and then transported up to our brain. And then that's when we feel depressed or anxious, depending on how those neurotransmitters are operating in our brain. But in order for them to be made appropriately and be in balance, we have to have a healthy gut. And so most physicians are not making those same connections. So there is new science, new biology that we're learning every single day that is out there in the research and the primary literature, but it's not in the textbooks that are taught in, middle school, high school, college, medical school. Those that is very, I will call it legacy science. And so functional medicine, it really operates off what's new in the literature. What are we learning about new ways the body's operating? And let's use that to help people feel better, get better, stay better once they've healed. And so Western medicine is fantastic if you have a broken limb or if you need surgery. But for chronic disease, it's really not the best approach. And for chronic illness, it's okay, well, we symptom treat, and we hope you get better. But really, we're not getting to the root cause of the problem, like with hypertension. What's causing your blood pressure to be high? Instead of just giving you a medicine to lower your blood pressure, which is helpful, it keeps you from dying,
Yeah.
but it's not getting to the root cause of alleviating that and in your body going back into a state of homeostasis, which is balance. And that's where our body wants to be. Our body wants to be in balance. Our body is constantly doing things to rebalance for us. And when we've been in a certain state of stress or imbalance for so long, then that's when things start to present as what we would call a disease state.
So it's almost like, in Western medicine, it just hasn't maybe caught up to, the potentially, new evidence out there, the new studies, the new literature out there. And then I think if
Yeah.
you add on top of that, I mean, I feel like, and through no fault of their own necessarily, but a lot of, it can be hospitals too, but a lot of just doctors' offices are predicated on getting as many clients as possible, and you stack clients. I mean, have you ever been to the doctor and like they're always late? I mean, they stack clients, and that's kind of how it works. And they don't really spend a lot of time with the patient for the most part. I mean, I'm in there for like, I'm with the PA, I'm with the medical student, but the doctor's only in there for 5 minutes. And
Mhm.
so I feel like that also could be contributed to like them not really just having the time to really go
Absolutely.
through it. And again,
Yes.
and I don't know how the system works, but it just seems like that could play a part of it.
Yes, how the system is set up definitely plays a part. That, insurance in this country plays a huge part in that. That's how physicians make money, unfortunately. Some of the industry is shifting more towards a fee for service model. But in general, insurance companies really run the show, unfortunately, and insurance companies are all about the money. So physicians
No,
go
what?
into it to help people, and that's why you have so much physician burnout, like burnout within the healthcare field overall is at an all-time high, especially since COVID. It was high before, it's higher now. Um, and a lot of that is just because they come into the industry, the field, the career, wanting to help people, and then they get into either private practice or even, hospital practice or wherever they decide to practice. And then they see, okay, well, there's bureaucracy, there's insurance, there's a hospital system telling me how I have to practice because,
Mhm.
you know, the C-suite has decided or some committee has decided this is how I have to practice. And if I don't stay within their protocol, then I'm going to be, held accountable in some way, shape, or form. Or if you're in, the community, okay, well, I have more autonomy to practice how I want, but now it's how many, patients can I squeeze into my day so I can bill so that I can, feed my family. So there's it's it's not perfect. Some people will tell you have the best medical and healthcare on the planet. In some ways, yes, but again, there's a lot of pitfalls. And so, yeah, I have a lot of physicians that are friends. I myself still work part-time in an acute care hospital environment. So I see how hard they work and how hard they try and the good that they want to do. But the way that medical school and the education aspect of it is set up also, it's just completely different than the functional medicine and integrative medicine approach. And physicians that want to practice that way still do that extra education once they're done doing all their, residencies and fellowships and all that. So it's just not the way it's taught, unfortunately.
And it's interesting because like you don't realize that. I think the general public doesn't just realize kind of how that system is played out and how you know, and we do have great, look, we do have a great general, if like you said, like broken bones, sprained ligaments, anything like that. Like, yeah, like even inventive, I think is another thing that we're really good at over here. But when it comes to like whole body health and doing that, I guess functional approach, we're definitely potentially behind its time at this point, and we need to adapt to that.
Yeah.
How'd you get into this? You know what I mean? Like, so where'd you start? How'd you get into functional medicine versus going down the traditional route?
So I was in the traditional route for a long time. I am a doctor of pharmacy, went to pharmacy school. I did a residency, and after my residency, I went into emergency medicine. So I was a pharmacist in the emergency room. I love that setting still to this day. It's you see people on their worst day. If you're in the emergency room, that's usually not your best day of life, right?
Mhm.
And so it requires a special type of team to work in that very unique environment. And from there, I was able to see like, okay, I can be at bedside even as a pharmacist and help patients, help families, help physicians and nurses. So it was the whole picture. But through that, had my own health challenges. I was diagnosed with IBS at the age of 23. I ignored it until I was 34,
Oof.
until essentially my body said no more. And I was also working the graveyard shift. And so, if anyone out there has ever done shift work, it takes a toll on your body. And I had convinced myself because I'm a good sleeper, I can sleep during the day, that I was fine. Everything was fine. But
Oh,
eventually my body said, no, lady,
nope.
it's not fine. And so I had to listen to that, and I did what most people do. I went to my PCP, and she's fantastic. I love her, but I even did some of my own this is before I was practicing functional medicine. I did some of my own testing because a lot if consumers don't know this, but you can actually order your own tests and go to a lab and have your own labs drawn. You
What?
don't have to go to your PCP.
Wait, where's
So there's
that?
that.
Where's that? Like, how
There
do you?
there are so there's several website resources out there that have, like, a physician that works for them that orders it for you. So, like, if you wanted to know, I don't know, again, I keep using thyroid and cholesterol as an example just because it's easy, but let's say, like, you're a female, you went to the doctor, you say those symptoms that I mentioned earlier, and, because those are symptoms of hypothyroidism, low thyroid function. Maybe your hair starting to fall out. Again, low energy, low metabolism, weight gain. Maybe you're feeling cold all the time, and they just test your TSH, and it's quote within the normal range. That's the other thing is physicians go with these ranges that honestly and historically were kind of arbitrary. Like in order to be considered ill, you really had to have something way, way out of whack. And so we, in functional medicine, we narrow our view of it. And if you come to us with symptoms, it honestly, like we're going to look deeper to figure out why. So maybe your body's happy range is, like less than like around a 2. And so if your body's having symptoms, I kind of got off track about my story, but it kind of relates.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
The point is I went to a bunch of different doctors that couldn't help me. I wasn't getting better. And so I found functional medicine. And at the same time, I started practicing Reiki, which is a form of energy medicine. And those two things did help me. And, I then became the practitioner. I started educating myself and saying, okay, well, if this could help me in the myriad of ways that I needed help at the time, I had chronic migraines. I was overweight. Again, the IBS thing was just wreaking havoc throughout my body. And really, it was inflammation from my lifestyle and my food choices that was causing those problems. And I learned about that and I fixed it. And now my passion is teaching others and helping others make those connections, understand their body at a deeper level. Because I feel like when you have that, at least a superficial understanding, you don't have to like understand all the cell biology and, all that stuff, all the biochem. But, a decent understanding like, oh, if I eat this sugar, the sugar is going to increase my insulin levels. The insulin is the fat storage hormone. That fat, if I'm not burning it straight away, then that's going to be stored as fat and that's going to contribute to my weight gain. That's pretty simple and straightforward. Then that you can like, okay, you can make a decision from that. All right, well, I'll have an avocado instead, or I'll have some almond butter and an apple instead of the piece of cake.
When and thank you to kind of going through the story there. And I mean, you said a couple of things on a selfish note. You said IBS. So I have IBS as well, but I wasn't diagnosed with IBS. What they did was, and I went to a doctor, did all the testing, and they just they said I didn't have the other things. So I didn't have ulcerative colitis, I didn't have celiac, I didn't have
Mhm,
Crohn's. So they said
mhm,
you have IBS. So I was
mhm.
told there was no specific test for IBS. Is that changed? Is that wrong? Is there a specific test?
Well, so IBS right now is an umbrella. It is very general
Okay.
for you have inflammation in your gut and we don't know why exactly.
Me, yeah.
Now they're starting to classify it as an autoimmune
No,
dysfunction.
really? Oh my god.
Yes. So, and I don't really know how I feel about that.
Okay.
My personal jury is still out. I think because the way we're looking at autoimmune is changing, now we're saying, well, it's inflammation. We know that. It's in your GI tract. We know that. We don't know what's causing it. Is it your own immune system or is it something outside of yourself that is causing it? But a lot of times, again, it's our environment, it's our toxic environment, it's our toxic lifestyle that creates the inflammation that eventually it's like the cup. Your cup is your teacup, is fine when the water, the tea is in it, but as soon as the tea overflows, now you have a problem.
Yeah.
The same with inflammation. Like again, and our body's constantly working to address inflammation, address toxicities by detoxing. We have multiple detox mechanisms that our body has to rid ourselves. But if it gets overwhelmed, it just can't keep up. So I had several scope procedures done, which I don't I mean, we can talk about those, but, so yeah, so at the time, that's how I received my diagnosis. Uh, Again, they were like, "Well, you don't have Crohn's, you don't have celiac, you definitely, like, you don't have any polyps in your colon or any of
Yeah.
that, you don't have cancer, but you definitely have something going on." And at the time, that was like there's, a pharmaceutical drug that now is used to treat IBS with constipation specifically,
Mm.
and that drug wasn't even on the market yet when I was diagnosed. I was, like, in pharmacy school when that drug
Oh,
came
okay,
out.
yeah. So
And so, at the time, the physician, he like gave me the tool of aloe vera juice. He's like, aloe vera juice is very helpful and soothing to the GI tract. And that's a really good suggestion. And I applaud this physician for like giving me something that was actually natural to do. And he said, other than that, you just have to keep your stress under control because that'll instigate your flares. And that was all. So later down the road is when I decided, oh, what's with this gluten thing? Maybe I'll try that. So I eliminated gluten first. I started to feel better. And then I started learning about dairy along the way. And so I eliminated dairy and that changed my world. When I eliminated dairy, my migraines decreased significantly.
wow.
My skin cleared up. I used to have like cyclical acne with my cycles. My skin completely cleared up. My GI tract healed even more, even after I had gotten gluten out of my diet. I was still having that chronic heartburn and regurg. I got rid of the dairy and that went away. So dairy for me was a huge life changer. And then later, once I got deeper into the functional medicine practice, because my practitioner didn't actually food test me, I tested myself later. And so then I got, the actual hard data back that yes, you have a sensitivity to gluten. Yes, you actually have an allergy to casein. So A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm lactose intolerant. It gives me gas." Maybe, but lactose intolerance is just an enzyme deficiency. Lactose is the milk sugar that needs to be broken down. That happens with enzymes. If you don't have those enzymes, then your body produces gas and other things. So you can easily alleviate lactose intolerance by taking
The enzymes.
specific
Yeah.
enzymes. Yeah.
That's what I
But
do.
if
So
you
it's
but if you have a casein allergy, that's a whole different ball of
ballpark.
wax. And if you're, a whey protein ingester, then you could actually still be, throwing casein into your body, even if you're having almond milk with your whey protein.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because and the reason I ask originally, because I've had IBS for apparently years, right? And I didn't get quote unquote diagnosed for probably at this point 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, right around that time. And what they had me do was an elimination diet, and very similar to like get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of, and like I had to kind of like dumb down my entire lifestyle and then figure
Hmm.
out what was hurting, what wasn't hurting. Recently, what I did was, and this turns into a doctor's thing for me. Recently, what I did was I ordered, and I'm not sure if this is within your scope here, but I ordered that Everlywell test. There was like a sale, like $100 off. It's expensive. I was like, I'm gonna pay $300, but okay, I'll pay $199 for like 200 different food sensitivity reactivity tests, and the results shocked me, and not in a good way. Not like, oh, I knew that, but it's like I have eliminated so many foods that have potentially caused issues with my, my microbiome or my GI tract, whatever it is. And I get this test back, and they're all like, oh, those foods are fine to have. And I'm like, I'm fairly confident that these foods cause issues, but they're not coming back. So is there like, I guess like, how do you parse that information? Is there a specific type of testing people should be doing? Because now I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I took these foods out for 8 years, and like now it's telling me there's no like reactivity, but maybe that's not like the right test to be looking at. Maybe there's a different test. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Everlywell is a good one. So some of the food sensitivity tests they test your IgG versus your IgE. So your IgE is like that acute anaphylactic type of reaction. That's
Yeah.
the immune globulin that spikes if you like need an EpiPen.
Yeah.
So you can test that, but really most of the time the food tests and Alcat or Alcat, I have to wait depending on how you pronounce it,
Yeah.
is another one. I really well is one. There's another one that like sends me ads all the time that they sell on Amazon, and I can't think of the name of it right now. But anyway, the point is like those test your IgG. So you have to have had the food in your system, so your food's producing those immunoglobulins for it to show up. So like for me, um, like 2 years ago, because I was absolutely 100% gluten free, if I took that test and they tested for gluten, it wouldn't show up because I hadn't had it in my system. My body wouldn't have shown a reaction. But actually, when I tested, I was like making my own almond milk and doing that. And so like mine actually spiked high for almonds. I'm like, oh crap. But now I cycle through because I know like I'm not allergic to almonds. But I think you can have too much of a good thing. And so now I cycle through coconut and almonds and I alternate. But so some of those again, so it's based on what you're eating and have been eating for like 30 days coming up to it, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
okay. That does make it because like
Yeah,
like these wouldn't spike because I haven't had it in how like potentially haven't had enough of it to really do anything.
right.
Interesting to know that. So
Yeah.
enough about me. I just
Well,
get
I want to
my
say one more thing about that. So, um, your body heals over time unless you have an absolute allergy, like a celiac person has an absolute allergy to gluten. We know that. So don't do that. But unless you have that type of allergy, so, these sensitivities shouldn't be lifelong. You eliminate it to allow your body to heal, and then you can have it in small amounts, and it shouldn't cause that big of a problem because our body should be able, again, to, you know, to sort of roll with the punches and maintain that level of homeostasis. So, you know, it depends on
Okay.
how big of a spike you got with that sensitivity test. Like I know like eggs are a thing for me too. So there's, and with elimination diets are, I would say they're easy. They're
Hmm.
not easy for everyone. It's a simple, I'll say it's a simple way to approach it. A simpler way is just to test. Testing requires a little bit of a financial investment for yourself,
Hmm.
but it gives you a more specific way to go instead of going through that because it depends. Some practitioners will want you to do elimination for 3 months. And then the way to really do it is introduce those things one at a time for 2 weeks and see how your body does.
Yeah.
It's a really slow process.
It's meticulous. It's
Like, think
tedious,
about that time.
meticulous. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not easy.
So because you're gonna look at corn, soy, dairy, gluten, what else? Did I feel like there's one more I missed.
It's a pretty
There's like
list.
typically 5 things that we're looking at that are famously inflammatory for the body. And then you have people out there like Dr. Gundry, who talks about like plant lectins. And so you could go down that rabbit hole. And so I would just test. That's in functional medicine. Again, we don't guess, we test. So I would say, and I would encourage, even if you're one of those people, and I was where you are new, I tested myself, have that like be working with a practitioner that understands the data that you're going to bring them. Like I brought my doctor my full thyroid panel because I even tested myself for Hashimoto's at the time. And I didn't have Hashimoto's and I could see that from the test because again, I'm a medical practitioner too, but I could see I had a problem between my T3 to T4 conversion. And that's where my problem was. But the doctor I went to looked at it and she said, "No, you're not, your TSH is fine, you're fine." I was so mad. That's probably the most angry I've ever been in a physician's office.
I can imagine too. It's like I'm not fine. Like something hurts. So okay, so moving back a little bit, I do want to kind of we'll go back. Is
Yeah.
you mentioned, I think you mentioned energy medicine, Reiki healing. Let's go into that a little bit. What is that?
So, Reiki is a form of energy healing that it's funny. 2 people over the last 2 days have asked me to explain it. So, we have a team of spirit beings around us, guides, angels, spirit guides, ancestors that are always around us. And this is why, depending on where you are in the spectrum of your spiritual belief, so wherever you are, you don't have to believe it, but and you have this ability, we all have the ability to connect to source energy. So there is an energy out there that connects us all. And we don't have to anthropomorphize it, meaning like we don't have to call it God or give it a human identity ish. But there is this energy that connects us all. And so Reiki taps into that energy that connects us all and can dislodge energy stagnicities in our body. So when we have experiences, when we have traumas, heartbreaks, um, anything like that, if we don't process those emotions, they get stored in different places of our body. And if you still, if you're some people will continuously like store those things in the same place. Or if you've had many, many heartbreaks over your life in different relationships, both family and significant other, or like even friend betrayals, you can store that heartbreak here in your heart space and it can create blockages and it can literally there is even in Western medicine there is the broken heart syndrome. You can literally die from a broken heart, but you can also heal it with things like Reiki and energy healing. And so by being open and using that source energy, you can release it back to the universe, and the universe is here. We're all in a state of flow at every single moment. And so it's just a matter of realigning yourself with that state of flow.
I get what you're saying. I can already hear this, the people in the background be like, what are you like? How do you, those seem like completely different opposing viewpoints, right? On the one end,
Okay.
doctor, science, test your body,
Mhm.
test the information, test all this. On the other hand, you just kind of, you mentioned, okay, not necessarily spirituality, because I want to stay away from that aspect of it, because I understand the
Right.
source energy. And so for people who have listened to the show, they understand this a little bit. If you're
Okay.
newer, it's uh the universe is made of energy. It's a fact.
Yes.
It's known. And it's all relatively made of very similar particles. And since we are made of those same particles that is in the universe, there is this source, potentially this source energy that you can connect to, because it's touching you. Everything you do has this cause and effect that touches you. And so that's kind of where I think you're getting at. And with Reiki, you're able to kind of almost manipulate the energy around you or in you to potentially heal you.
Yes, yes, and anyone can do this. Like I'm not special just because this is what I practice. Anyone can be taught to. So let's talk about physics and the laws of thermodynamics, because there's a fantastic book out there, why I think it's called Why or How Woo Woo Works. And it's
It's a good title.
yeah, Dr. Hawkins, and he actually outlines the science behind the woo woo. So this is one of the reasons that I practice this, because I know it works, because there's science behind it. So matter can neither be created nor destroyed. And everything that is solid and intangible is energetic, has atoms, molecules, electrons, protons, neutrons. And like you said, we're all made up of those same things. So just because this, laptop that I'm working on, that has its certain form because it's vibrating at a certain frequency, those molecules fit together in a certain geometry, and so it creates a physical form. Our bodies are created with physical form, but we're mostly space. We're
I,
more space than
I've heard
anything
that.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. Um, it's hard to really wrap your head around. But so with that energy, like all of our thoughts have a vibration, our voice has a vibration. So if you think about, like singing bowls or tuning forks, those vibrate, or music. Let's talk about music. You have you play a C on the piano or guitar, you sing a C, you have a singing bowl that is in the key of C, you know, there's something in our body that resonates at that exact same, resonance. And they have done research and they've investigated the chakras, so the seven energy centers, and they know that each chakra vibrates at a certain frequency. So you can use a singing bowl to vibrate at the frequency of whichever chakra you're focusing on to bring it back into balance, back into alignment. And you can do the same thing with tuning forks if you've ever worked with someone with tuning forks. So this is how sound healing works. But with Reiki, it's your intention. And so even our intention has a vibration, a frequency. It's Our intention is very powerful, and that, really the mind is so powerful. So we can convince ourselves that, you know, if we're sick, we could convince ourselves, hypochondriacs, they convince themselves that they're sick.
You could
It
actually
will
become
actually
sick.
create, yeah, physical manifestations. But we can also convince ourselves that we're well,
Hmm.
and you can heal yourself with just your mind alone. There are many, 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 many examples of that out there.
Well,
So keep going.
one
Yeah.
example, I mean, just because I read this in a, I forget the book, but it's from a doctor. I mean, like, he did all the research, and apparently I think the Spanish flu was like in New York City back in like the 30s or something, like 1930s, and people were dying. I mean, it was horrible. People were dying, and it was just like, a lot.
1918.
That Oh, it was that early? Okay. So
Uh-huh.
maybe I was thinking
If it
1830s
was a
then.
Spanish flu.
It was some pandemic, right? Some ridiculous
Okay.
pandemics. I don't want to, like, oh, someone like Scott misquoted, but some ridiculous pandemic that was happening. And
Yeah.
what they found was, I think that the elected officials were like, okay, stop posting this in the newspaper. Stop telling people. Like, and what happened? So what happened was they stopped posting about the deaths in the newspaper, and the deaths plummeted. And so what they kind of came, and again, all through all, no, more than what I'm explaining here, is that because you were inciting fear among people, they were more likely to get sick from this and die from it. But when you stopped inciting fear, nothing else has changed except that you were telling people stopped dying from it, and less people were getting sick from it. And I think that that's a lot. I mean, we can see that kind of today as well. You can talk about COVID and however you believe about it, but like there was literally a death count on the major news networks of how many people have died from it. And people were arguing like you're causing more harm than good because of that, because you're scaring more people, and that's causing more people to get sick from this, whether they were sick or not. So I think there's a lot to that of like you can manifest your own sickness. There is you can also, if you see someone get sick, you might get sick from them being sick, and you're not even sick. You might just have that reaction from it. I forgot the
Just
term
by what
for
you're
it.
telling yourself about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dr. Joe Dispenza does a lot of research also about, he's researching spontaneous healing, but he's also like, he's very focused on the brain science behind it. But now he's starting to branch out and like what else is going on in our body, when we think these certain thoughts. And so he's doing studies with PTSD and anxiety and depression, but also physical ailments. And so when like if you come to me for a Reiki session, part of my intake is asking you, okay, well, what is your intention? What do you want to work on? What do you want to clear, heal? Like, what's going on? Like, why are you here seeking this out? Because the intention is important. So, because
Yeah.
that's also going to like focus, like, bring focus to different parts of the body. So, as the practitioner, I'm guided to focus my energy, on different areas of the body, because that's where the energy is concentrated and where we want to allow it to open up and flow more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but basically, when you're doing this, you need the intention and the emotion to create results, and that can potentially open up certain matter pathways to help kind of change the body itself. And it's a very like if you're listening to this for the first time, it's a very difficult, like it's very woo woo. So I mean, take
Yeah,
it,
it can be very abstract.
it's
That's
very
why
abstract, and that's
yeah.
hard because people
Yeah.
need, when you tell people that their body is mostly space, like, well, what are you talking about? My hand, like this isn't space. You have to go to the subatomic level, the
Right.
molecular level to see, like, actually, if you look at atoms, how they're formed, and it's mostly space. So I understand what you're saying, but I understand people that had the skepticism. But I would say from this, if anyone who's a little bit skeptical of this stuff, just understand that when you think about something, and that's how I'm gonna tie it back into some goals in a second here, is when you think about something and have an emotional intent behind it, your mind is so powerful that it can help you move through it as if you physically had done something. And so your mind plays a big role. So if you're always negative, to be as basic as I can make it, if you're always negative, you're going to create a negative environment around you. You're going to see negative people. You're going to act negative. You're going to have this negative energy. People are going to look and go, I don't want to be around you. Versus if you're positive, the opposite effect happens. People gravitate towards you. You get more out of it. You see things better. And that plays a big role. And that's inherently what we're saying on a basic level, is the way you think and feel can affect certain things. And energy healing is a way to open up, certain blockages that might be happening. So if you're always negative and go to Reiki and focus on something positive, that can help you release some of that negativity potentially. So it goes back to so reeling it in here, it goes back to your mindset. And I'm a huge mindset proponent. I love that. I think we focus way too much on just do versus becoming someone that you need to become. A lot of diets in the US they're all very goal oriented, which is great in terms of, I want to lose 40 pounds. I want to do this, without actually changing who you need to be. So my question for you is, whether it's functional medicine, whether it's energy healing, whatever, the whole practice, right? let's say someone is struggling in their life, struggling with, I want that promotion at work. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better wife. I want to have more energy to hang out with my kids. I want to lose 50 pounds. But no matter how hard they try, they just, they try for 2 weeks and they go back to the old habits. They try for 2 weeks, they go back. You ever hear of yo-yo dieting where it's up 50 pounds, down 50 pounds, same thing. They try and they're not succeeding and they're working hard, but they're not seeing results. Using functional medicine or energy medicine or a combination, what is something someone can do to help achieve their goals using those methods that we talked about?
So from the functional medicine perspective, again, I would start with testing. I want to know what they're sensitive to and get those foods out of their diet. Because again, they could be trying things like paleo, keto, carb cycling, different things that are effective. But if you're including foods in those efforts that are inflammatory to your body, an inflamed body can't lose weight. An inflamed body can't heal. And again, because of the way inflammation works in the body, it's not just one system. It's your whole body. Like it might be manifesting itself as, migraines or IBS, but really it's your whole body. And so we need to start thinking about the body as a big organism because it is. It's in its own ecosystem as well with the microbiome. Um, so it's about bringing balance to that. And so also too, I want to see like what are your toxic levels in the body? So I test for toxicities because we need to support those pathways of helping your body unload the toxic burden that we're constantly bombarded with every day throughout our lives. And so, like, how are your kidneys functioning? How's your liver functioning? Are you getting a good sweat on a regular basis, whether that's through exercise or through a sauna, or even a hot bath? Though, we really need to help the body unload its toxic burden. And then, of course, wow, how is your mindset working? That's mind work is so powerful. Breath work is another detox mechanism, but it's really good for the mind as well. So breath work is fantastic for both mind and body. And how open are you? So like I meet my clients where they are. Like what are you interested in? So if you are interested in trying some of the energetic practices, then I'm all about it. I think it's a great way to sort of attack it from multiple sides, for lack of a better way. Although I don't really like the word attack.
Yeah.
Like we need to be in harmony with our body instead of fighting it all the time. Instead of fighting cancer or fighting disease, like you said, our words matter. Our words carry vibration and energy. And so instead of fighting, we're going to, bring a practice of love and harmony into our body. And that's a big aspect too. I think we get this picture in our head of what we want to look like or how we want to feel or what we think we'll be happy when we have blah, blah, blah. But really, it's about I'm doing this because I love my body. When I made that decision for myself of I'm getting rid of gluten, I'm getting rid of dairy, it's because I felt I wanted to care so much about feeling good that all the other stuff didn't matter anymore. That I didn't care about having that sugar or having that cheese. Cheese was a hard one for me when I gave up dairy. Um, because I cared more about feeling good. And I knew if I didn't have it, I felt good. I felt better and better and better and better. So it's about you get on this momentum of, oh, I feel good. I want to feel better. Oh, I feel better. And you start building positive momentum and that's your path. That becomes your path. And so I think it's about helping people sort of get over that hump. Like start like they come to you, like you said, they're in the yo-yo cycle. And we as practitioners, and I know you do this too with your clients, you help them get to the point where they're feeling good most of the time and they're starting to see results by how they feel, and that's usually you'll see results by how you feel first before you start to see the physical results. And I think that's both true mentally, physically, and energetically.
Yeah, I mean, I love everything you just said. So, I mean, and the hard part on my end is like people are so used to feeling like crap all the time that they don't even realize that they feel like crap.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. It's like, "Oh, I don't need this." I'm like, I go, "You literally are like my dad is a great example." Not to call you out, but he lives with like this foot pain his whole life. He's like, "Yeah, I just dealt with it." I'm like, and like he's dealt with it his whole life that like he's just like it is what it is. I'm not even in pain. Like, I've been in pain, but I just deal with it. I just live my life that way. People live their lives in such a negative way that it doesn't even feel negative anymore. And the second you can make those changes, again, but it's hard to get them to make those changes. And I think that's where we go.
Yeah.
I do want to be mindful of your time and everything. So, and there's been a lot. I mean, unbelievable, stuff here. Where can and I want to obviously give you a shout out as well. But you say testing a lot. Get testing, get testing.
Hmm.
I only know to go to my primary care physician, or like, and I'm not advertising, I'm not sponsoring any specific place. I've got to like Quest, like diagnostic. I'm not sure if that's something like
Hmm.
this. Like, where can people go if it's you, right? Like, but where can people go to get
Yeah.
these tests that are better to actually show, what's going on in the body? Like, where can they go for that?
I would encourage people to find a practitioner that's doing the testing. So you can, like you said, the Everlywell, there are test kits out there that you can order online, have them sent to your home and do it on your own. But again, you get results back and you're like, okay, well, now what do I do with this? And if you take it to your Western medicine practitioner, they're going to be like, I don't know what you want me to do with this most
So
of the
what do you look
time.
for? So, okay, so let's say I do a test, and how do you know it's a good test? Like, is there's, I mean, look, like I can go online right now and look up 20 different tests. How do you know they're good? Like, I feel like
Right.
even with me and my fitness background and my nutrition, I'm like, I have no idea if this is a good test or not. I can only imagine the average person who's just like,
Well, that's the
just
thing is I can tell you there's a website called Walk-in Lab that you can go on and you can order tests for yourself and they
walk
will
in
either
lab.
send you to a phlebotomist, so like Quest or LabCorp, and they'll take your blood and they'll send it off and you'll get results back. But then like again, unless you're a person that's in the medical practice, what do you do with that information? So that's why I really encourage someone to find a practitioner. You can make an appointment with me. I'm available at drlaramay.com for sure. And I do, again, sensitivities, toxicities, and those are the two main ones, and inflammation. And so we just want to see like what's your toxic burden? How can we help you, maximize those detox pathways? What are you eating? And what are these sensitivities tests showing? And how can we help you make better choices to start dampening down that inflammation just by changing what you're eating? And those are great places to start. Just by doing that, you'll see changes. And that's not even, really attacking, like getting deeper and talking about, more specific food approaches like intermittent fasting or any of that stuff. So that's where I would say start.
When you and last question, because I'm hammering you on the little logistics here, is when you say I agree with you, go find someone who knows how to read the results, and maybe there's an app with it. Maybe they come with an app that shows you the results and everything, which I really well came with it, like like literally the results, the replacements, everything. How like, but obviously you got to pay for all that stuff. So, um, what do you look for in a doctor? Like you like, for example, I have if you have your like your health, your insurance company, go online, the insurance has all the doctors on there. Am I looking for alternate healing? Am I like, what am I looking for in someone's title or someone's name or how what they say they practice? Is it functional medicine? Is it energy healing? Like, what am I looking for when I'm looking for someone to help me with the results?
You can Google like functional medicine practitioners near me or
Okay, so
functional medicine
functional
near
medicine.
me.
Okay, functional
Yes,
medicine.
that's what I would do. If you're looking to do this, get this type of knowledge and this type of approach and this type of feedback and information. There are some health systems that have integrated practitioners and functional medicine practitioners within the system these days. So I know like Sutter Health in California, which is my one of my employers, they have a branch that it's their integrative health center that has functional medicine practitioners. But I also know from personal experience that just to get in, you're looking at 6 months out. So are
Yeah.
you in a
Yeah.
place where you can wait 6 months? So if you're willing to and are able to have to go to a cash pay person, which is what I am,
Yeah.
so, then it will be again, it's a bit of a financial investment but for yourself. You can sometimes use FSA or HSA funds to pay for labs and supplements. So within my practice, I am fee for service for my time, but with supplements and labs, you can use FSA and HSA funds to pay for those. So that's a little bit helpful. And there's also payment plans, and most of the practitioners that I know offer payment plans. And they will want to work with you like for, let's say, like 3 months. So it's a package deal. So you're getting my time, the testing, and whatever plan I put together for you all for one, package fee. And there's value in that. So I'm not just saying, okay, this is what I recommend. And now here's your results. Bye. Good luck. Like I'm invested in you. I want to see you get better as well. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not just, doing it for, you know, I don't know, for some arbitrary reason. It's because I actually care and I want to see people get well and healthy and feel good.
Oh, well, this has been, I mean, a lot of learning. Obviously a different sort of episode that people are used to, I feel like. But so let's wrap it up here. Where can people find you? If they're interested, where can they find you?
So I'm at drlaramay.com, drlaramay.com. You can, if you're just looking for a specific functional medicine, like a specific link, you can also find me at tahoefunctionalmedicine.com. And that will take you specifically to my functional medicine sort of pathway. So I have different ailments there that you can click on, and then I offer free discovery call. It's short, it's only 15 to 20 minutes, but within that 15 to 20 minutes, I can assess if you're in a good place and if you like me as a practitioner, and if I think that you're in a good place and you're a good candidate for this type of approach.
I love that. Any final thoughts?
No, I love what you're doing as well, and I thank you for having me on. And I just want to, for anyone out there that's been told, either there's nothing wrong with you or there's no hope, that is not true. There is always something that you can do as the patient for yourself. Healing can be miraculous and spontaneous. That is also a possibility. And I think and that's one of the reasons I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's work is because he's bringing that possibility back and backing it up with research and science. And so, um, don't lose hope. There's so many resources out there for you, and it's just a matter of finding the right practitioner for you. So, and there's lots of us out there. So I hope that helps.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, thank you.